Are you sure you want to do this?
Hi, I'm Mr. Movie Mountain, and today we're going to be talking about Alien Romulus. What's that? Okay. Now, this review will contain spoilers, but before we get into it, I wanted to ask you to please subscribe to this channel. I have a goal of getting to 50 subscribers before the end of September, so any little bit helps. The movie opens with our main character, Rain, on this oppressive, dark mining planet with her adoptive brother, Andy. They're walking around, you're feeling the horrible darkness. The sun never shines on this planet. And quickly you find out that she is trying to get away. But as she goes to get her contract fulfilled so that she can leave the planet, she's told that the company has arbitrarily extended her work contract. So she's stuck on the planet, unable to leave in what is essentially a slave situation to work in these dangerous mines. And through this process, we also find out that Andy is actually an android that her father found in a trash heap and reprogrammed and fixed up to help her out. And I'll just say that this mining world was really effective for me in how they built it and how they made it look so gritty and grungy. And you really felt that sense of hopelessness that gave Rain the motivation to sign on to this plan of escape and dangerous mission that happens with the ragtag group of people later. So as she reunites with this group of friends, they hatch a plot to go aboard this abandoned space station and get the necessary materials they need to make this journey across space to a planet of hope and new beginnings. But in classic alien movie fashion, as soon as they get to the ship, not everything is quite as it seems. And one of the main takeaways that I had from this movie is really it caught me as almost a love letter to the original two movies, which are actually the only two that I've seen, although I want to go back and watch more of the movies. But it really felt like the director and Ridley Scott producing, they paid a lot of attention and love to 1979's Alien as well as 1986's Aliens movie. What reminded me of the original Alien movie was just the claustrophobia of a lot of the settings within this abandoned space station. One example of this is Andy and two of the other boys go off looking for the cryo fluid that they need. When they're looking, they get trapped in this science lab where the cryo fluid is, and there's water up to maybe a little bit above their ankle levels. Well, as they're collecting those canisters and they're trapped in this room, we see the temperature start to rise in this lab, and you see face huggers that were previously frozen and inanimate drop into the water. So you have these creepy spider things slithering through the water, jumping out and grabbing people on the face, and it's just terrifying. They're trapped. You don't know how they're going to get out. When they eventually do escape, there's all these face huggers scrambling after them. It just is truly gross and horrifying and suspenseful in all the right ways. And the first chest bursting scene in this movie reminded me a lot of the original Alien movie, except it had its own unique twist and the gruesomeness was turned up to 11, I would say. And speaking of chest bursts, this movie does not shy away from body horror. And it might be kind of weird to say, but I feel like it used it in a somewhat judicious way that didn't feel over the top and served to add to the tension and suspense of what was going on. That being said, though, there is some truly disturbing imagery in this movie. For example, when Bjorn takes an electrical rod and stabs it into a xenomorph cocoon that looks a little suspicious. And let's just say that the Alien movies are well known for their human anatomy adjacent imagery. But anyway, he stabs this electrical rod into the cocoon only to be punctured by an alien stinger, falls to the ground, and then has acid dripping on him from the cocoon, and it like dissolves his fingers and part of his face. Just truly horrifying stuff. One of the coolest scenes in the movie that to me was reminiscent of the Aliens sequel, but had its own special twist, was when Rain and Andy had to get across the xenomorph nest, and there was this all-out shootout that ensued. So Rain had to get across, but the problem was if she shot the xenomorphs, their acid blood would tear through the bottom of the ship, and instantly they would all be sucked out into space and die. And so she had the idea of turning off the anti-gravity machine, which was something that had been set up, earlier in the movie to pay off in this moment. And it was after, a sequence of her using this automatic rifle to blast all these aliens, and you see, their acid blood flowing around. It just looked so cool and unique. And then she had to float through with Andy, avoiding the acid that was floating everywhere. It just looked amazing and was so cool and unique, I thought. Truly a great scene. Another thing that really worked for me were the CGI space sequences. The space station was basically a ticking time bomb heading towards this asteroid belt. And anytime they showed the outside with the deep blackness of space contrasted against this really, light white asteroid belt, my breath was literally taken away. It was so amazing. And then you find out this was a $70 to $80 million budget movie, and it's just like, come on, do better, Marvel. Even though the space CGI was great, my biggest issue of the movie also has to do with CGI, where they made a decision to resurrect a character. This is, of course, where they brought back a CGI rendition of the now deceased Ian Holm as an android. And the CGI looked really bad. I was confused. Is this the original android from the movie? But I thought he blew up, and turns out no. It's the same model. That's why he looks similar, but he's actually a different android. And so I was like, why couldn't they just use a different actor and not have it look so bad and weird? So that truly was a puzzling decision, and one that I didn't like. I haven't discussed nearly half the things in this movie, but I really liked it, and I'd love to hear from all of you what you thought and what you liked about this movie. Speaking of what people thought, let's read a couple of Letterboxd reviews and wrap things up. First, we've got Luis Peitzman. I'm starting to feel like the Weyland-Yutani Corporation does not have our best interests at heart. Yes, Luis. Mega corporations rarely, if ever, do. Next, we have Jim Caddick. Well, it's the best film I've seen with an acid vagina. I think that review speaks for itself. Lastly, we've got David Chen. Alien Romulus brings the Alien franchise back to its roots. Scary creature on spaceship slowly killing everyone on board. Fede Alvarez can direct the hell out of a slasher set piece, and the movie's combination of visual and practical effects is spectacular. There are a handful of tie-ins to alien lore, but by and large, this is a movie that you can enjoy on its own. I loved it. And I agree, the practical effects were amazing, and even though the movie is technically set between the first two, it stands on its own. With all of that, I give Alien Romulus a 4 out of 5 on the Mountain Meter. After Kaylee Spaney's performance in this movie, as well as in Civil War earlier this year, I'm really excited to see what this talented young actor has to bring. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.